Introducing Zentrix AI-powered trading signals service. Tired of second-guessing your trades? Zentrix AI scans the markets 24/7 with powerful, proven indicators built to give you clarity. You get 200+ signals every day on 15-minute, 1-hour, 4-hour, and daily charts. We cover Forex, crypto, commodities, indices, and stocks, so you're covered no matter what you trade. And the best part, you get all this delivered 3 ways, every day. Web alerts give you fast, clean access right from your dashboard. Telegram delivers real-time entries, confidence levels, sentiment, and trade duration. And email gives you the full breakdown, including 2 profit target levels and deep market analysis. Just hold $5 worth of ZTR. See what you can achieve with powerful AI trading intelligence by Zentrix. Try it now. And join our Telegram channel.
Okay, what's up people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing well. As always guys, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out, and of course make sure you do go and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. And if you are interested to check out the Zentrix project, you're interested to check out the AI powered signal service, I'm going to drop the link to the Zentrix community Telegram. You can find more information regarding the project, updates, and upcoming products as well. But if you do go to the pin messages at the top of that Telegram channel, go to the bottom, you'll be able to see the link to the signal service. So if you're interested, head over to the pin messages, go to the bottom, and you'll see the link to the signal service there. But guys, welcome back to another stream. Rifrat, welcome. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, feel free to ask questions on the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. What's up, Okpak? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Welcome. Tashi, what is up? Welcome to the stream. How was the day? Well, the day's just started, at least for me anyway. So a bit early to give you feedback on the day, but so far in terms of the markets, seeing a bit of movement today. Got a bunch of pairs to go through. Again, my focus is still very much with the USD as of right now, so I'm very much interested in the USD pairs. Nothing quite there yet for me, but I think something is starting to shape up there. So I'm going to go through the USD pairs to start with: DXY, Euro USD, the rest of the USD majors, gold and silver. If you do have any requests, let me know. Put it in the chat and we will discuss together. If you have any pairs you're looking at, any pairs you're trading, any particular time frames you want me to look at, put it in the chat, and of course we will take a look. Good afternoon, Patrick. Welcome to the stream. Hope you are doing good. Okay, let's start things off with the dollar. So coming into the week, I've been pretty bullish on the USD, looking for buying opportunities, and that very much has been the case, except we haven't really seen that price action come into play. So I'm kind of waiting to see if I can see a bit more strength before I do get long again on USD. What I do like is how corrective we are. Typically when price is showing corrective price action like this, it's a sign that we're starting to tire and potentially getting ready to form a bottom to potentially push higher. So I like the way we're moving. It's a sign that we're a little bit fatigued and perhaps a bottom could be forming. I did talk a lot about this area previously as a nice area of demand where, of course, we saw some buying pressure previously. Perhaps we could see that again. I mean, we already have seen elements of that happening with this bullish move from yesterday. Of course, today we're looking a little bit bearish, coming back into support. So I did say yesterday, if we can have a bit of a rally, come back and form a bit of a double bottom, that could actually interest me for a buy, and it does. So if I can see some aggressive reactions here, maybe some more wicks and a strong close, I'll be happy to get long there for the dollar. Well, not necessarily long DXY, but potentially short on Euro, or maybe long dollar CHF again potentially, but probably short Euro USD is my main pair that I'm watching at the moment, which we'll take a look in a second. But yeah, I quite like what I'm seeing. I'm not quite ready yet to get long, but I'm seeing signs that potentially the buyers are entering the market, especially at this area of significance. So if things do go to plan, I'm looking for the continuation of this bullish structure. So of course, higher highs and higher lows. The plan is, can we find the next higher low for perhaps the next higher high? I do have a target kind of before that, an intermediate target, you could say, with this swing high here, taking that across around 98.8 or 99, we can maybe call it. I think that would be a good healthy first target if we can bank some profits there, or just keep an eye out if maybe market shots start to show some rejection here. Perhaps that's a sign to maybe get out the trade or maybe reduce risk. So I'll keep an eye on this level, but truthfully, if you could really see the swing come into play, I'll be looking for a push all the way back to 100, back into the swing high. So pretty bullish here for the dollar. And of course, naturally, that means I'm pretty bearish for Euro USD, which is definitely the case. And as price is approaching this area of supply, kind of a similar area to what the DXY is approaching, an area of demand, and this is where we consolidated and had a very aggressive bearish move. And now price is moving towards that same area. So with Euro USD, I'm pretty much bearish as well. Just kind of waiting to see what we can do on a retest. We are still trading within this bullish channel. Again, it's pretty much copy and paste in terms of what the DXY is doing, just the opposite way, to be honest. So I like how synchronized they are at the moment. But yeah, for Euro, I'm looking to see what we can do at the highs again. Perhaps a double top, maybe some more wicks, and a strong close. That could be something that does get me excited and does get me into a trade. Again, the plan for Euro is pretty much the same. Can we get at least a push into this low here? And if everything goes very well, perhaps a push all the way to this low, around 1.14. So again, simply just looking to see if we can catch the next lower high. We've got one over here, a second over there, and perhaps we're getting ready to form a third. If we are going to form a lower high, this would be the area I would expect it to fall. So keeping a close eye here for Euro. I'm seeing good behavior in terms of how price is moving. It's slow, corrective. It's a sign that we're struggling to push higher, and perhaps that lower high could come into play. So really, my interest is on the double top. We'll see what we do there. Probably not today. Probably something early next week we'll probably discuss. But I'm interested in some shorts. Pound USD, we did see a little bit of downside off the high here. But to be honest, I'm not really interested in shorting Pound USD. Pound itself has been very, very strong. And yeah, that hasn't been great to short because of that strength of Pound. Of course, dollar's been relatively weak as well. So we've seen a pretty big up move there for Pound. My original bias coming into last week and into this week as well was looking to short Pound on the retest of this level, which didn't really provide much of a rejection. Then I was looking at the retest of this trend line, which saw a slight rejection, not enough for a trade. Then, of course, price eventually did break through. So we're coming to our last kind of straw right now, which is this level here. Perhaps we could see a rejection here, and perhaps we could see a swing back to lows. Price could repeat a similar move. But I'm not quite convinced, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of the price action. I think other USD pairs look better, especially that Euro USD, which we just had a look at. More corrective behavior, more emphasis with these bearish candles. Pound USD is still looking pretty bullish to me. And in fact, if we do get a break of structure here, that really does put to bed my bearish bias. And I won't be interested in shorting Pound USD whatsoever. So I'm very watchful of the pound. I'm not really interested to short it. If we do break structure, that puts to bed the bearish bias. And yeah, again, I'm always about quality over quantity, and Euro looks a lot better. So I'd rather focus my efforts there. So not quite convinced on the shorts there for dollar CAD, even if you do start to see some strength there. I mean, for Pound USD, even if you do start to see some strength for USD. As for dollar CAD, we did see some nice upside yesterday as well. This one looks as if we're trying to break out this consolidation, so to speak. Maybe a bit of a failed attempt there. It might be pulling back for a retest, for a continuation. But I do like what I'm seeing with dollar CAD, especially like the daily close, to be honest. Because I've been talking a lot about this level of support and resistance on the daily chart. And I said a couple of weeks ago, once we got the breakout, this could be a very nice area to keep an eye for a retest. So I did suggest keep an eye for buy opportunities here, which originally didn't really go to plan because we did see price actually close below. But it looks to me that price has recovered, and yesterday we saw a pretty strong close to the upside. So as long as we don't break through the low here I'm expecting this to be the new high low, so impulse pullback, and then I'm expecting another push back to highs, and maybe back to 1.4 if things go very well. Maybe see some CAD weakness, some dollar strength. That could very much be the case. But I quite like what I'm seeing with dollar CAD. I quite like what I'm seeing. I prefer Euro USD, especially in terms of risk to reward, because dollar CAD, the next major resistance is just above us here at 1.386. Whereas with Euro USD, I've got a pretty big swing to work with. Of course, there's some support here I'll watch out for. But if things go very well for Euro, I could be looking from a drop from 1.17 all the way to 1.14. So I think there's a bit more opportunity regarding Euro USD, which again is why it's my preferred pair. But dollar CAD might present something like this, which again, if you maybe drop to an intraday time frame, you could probably find a better risk to reward there. So I suggest looking at something like that. Again, as long as dollar CAD doesn't break this low, I do expect us to see a higher low and another push back to highs. As for Aussie dollar and New Zealand dollar pretty bearish yesterday. Hence, we had a pretty aggressive drop. It looks to me that we're kind of breaking outside of this ascending channel here. So perhaps now it's time to actually start to see the real momentum come into play for Aussie dollar. I do think we can see some more downside here. I'm looking at this as being our strong bearish move, and then this move is just being the correction, the pullback of that. So I do expect to see some more downside. Perhaps there might be some opportunities that look something like this, which could present maybe something of a head and shoulder pattern, especially if I was to drop to like an hourly chart. So you kind of got a left head, right shoulder. That could come into place, of course, that being your neckline. Not the biggest fan, because I kind of want momentum to really kick in. We're seeing some upside here, but it's quite minimal. So I'm pretty bearish on Aussie dollar. I do think we can continue lower, but I would suggest keep an eye on that head and shoulder opportunity. Should we see a push back up there, that could be a smart place to actually take a position. And New Zealand dollar, pretty much the same thing as well. Very corrective on the way up, very strong move to the downside yesterday afternoon. Breaking outside that channel, things look pretty bearish to me now. So again, expecting a push back into the low, very commanding breakout. Treating this bullish move as just a pullback before we do continue. That's very much my my expected move there for New Zealand dollar. So pretty bearish on this one. Looks to me that price has formed potentially the lower high here. Probably some trend line confluence there. 1 to almost a third test, but roughly, price came into that area pretty well. And there's some support below us around around 0.585, sorry, where maybe price could be attracted towards. So yeah, New Zealand dollar, I see that falling as well. Very similar pair to Aussie. Again, I expect both of them to do pretty similar things, and I'm pretty bearish on both of them. As for gold, last time I checked, not much to report on that one. Yeah, not much to report, to be honest. Very choppy behavior, but we are just sideways. So as I've suggested in the past, not really interested with the price action for gold until we get back into the major highs or the major lows here. That's really where I see opportunity. In the middle is where the most fluctuation will be, the most indecision will be. Unless you're on the lower time frames, then there might be some short-term buys, short-term sells you can take advantage of. But I wouldn't look for a big swing trade in these areas because of how choppy price is. If you're looking for a swing trade, your best bet is to wait for the lows or the highs to be tested, or even wait for breakouts. In the middle here, you want to be in and out pretty quickly, not trying to overstay your welcome, because naturally the market's going to be a bit choppy and it's difficult to catch a sustained move, especially from the middle. So not seeing much here for gold. Maybe if I was to drop to the low time frames, there might be something there. Maybe for the US session or something like that. But for a swing trade, what I'm interested in, as I've been saying, those are the two areas I'm interested in, which of course we are nowhere near at the moment. And silver's an interesting one. I still like silver buys longer term. Still keeping a very close eye on this area, a meaningful level of support on the daily, weekly chart. I really like this place for a buy, 34.9 we can call it. So I've been looking for actually a push into that area. I still do think we can get one. If I drop to the 4-hour chart, I quite like what we saw last couple of weeks with this bearish move. The way I see it, price had a really aggressive move there, taking out structure, and I'm expecting a pullback for continuation lower. Although I must say, the way the market's pulled back doesn't really do me any favors, and it hasn't really set up how I wanted it to, at least for me to take some shorts here. So maybe if we start to form a bit of consolidation and maybe start to show signs of breaking lower, then I'll be a bit more interested with the shorts again with silver, perhaps on the breakout or even on the retest. And then of course we can speak about this low and then probably the lows I just mentioned on the daily chart. So silver, could be forming a lower high. Possibly that could be a lower high in motion there. I did say yesterday that if momentum can pick up and we can take out highs, then the buys and the pullbacks makes the most sense. Trying to pick the lows all the way to the high, we haven't really seen that just yet. So it really depends which way we break out. If we clear the highs, probably going to head back to the swing high here at 39.4. Clear the lows, then we're looking at this area here. But I would say it's looking a bit 50-50 at the moment for silver. So yeah, just waiting for kind of clear-cut momentum, and then we can kind of analyze silver in probably a better light. But for now, I need a little bit more from silver before I can kind of confidently say I'm expecting a push to the highs or a push to the lows for now. But this is definitely a bullish setup, which hasn't changed for a while. If we can get there, I'm still very much interested in the longs. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the USD roughly. Still looking for the same strength on the dollar, but I wouldn't say it's quite here yet. We've seen some signs, yes, but not enough for me to jump into a position. Some other pairs are looking a little bit better, like Aussie, New Zealand dollar, because those currencies have been particularly weak, so they've performed a little bit better. Euro and pound, not as so, definitely pound. But the USD pair I like the most is definitely Euro USD. So that's kind of the pair I'm going to be focusing on for the next few days. So yeah, today and then probably most of next week as well. But anyway, guys, welcome to the stream. What's up, Rifat? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Yes, just stick it in the chat. You don't have to ask a question. Just stick it in the chat. Yusuf, good morning. Hope you're doing good. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. What's up, D-Mart? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. So quickly, guys, going to run through our platform, our purpose trading platform under Zenthrex. Quickly go through that, showcase what there is to come and what you can expect from it. If you haven't seen the platform already, this is actually, let me get rid of. There we go. If you haven't seen the platform already, it is a perps trading platform. Maybe some of you guys are new to the idea. Similar to trading CFDs, similar to actually trading futures, actually, except the contracts don't expire. So similar to how you trade Euro USD, the same kind of concept, buying and selling. You profit on the difference. So it's the same concept as that, essentially. But the beauty of it is you can connect your Solana or Ethereum wallets to the platform and begin trading straight away. Another big positive is the lack of restrictions, the fact that everything's decentralized, so you can, in terms of anyone can just open up a wallet and begin trading straight away. Profits can be withdrawn pretty quickly. There's no kind of waiting period, especially if some larger brokers might have to wait 24, 48 hours to request your payout or request a withdrawal from your account. The beauty of this, you can just withdraw straight away. Everything is settled instantly. There's no one you have to kind of get the okay from. You just withdraw, you trade straight away from your wallet. If you don't have a wallet, you can sign up with your email as well. So if you don't have a Solana or Ethereum wallet, you can log in with your email and begin trading straight away. At the moment, only cryptocurrencies can be traded on the platform, but in the future, FX, indices, stocks, other markets as well will be introduced to the platform. So you can trade a wide range of asset classes. But as you would do with any other platform, you can set limit orders, buy orders, stop orders, stop loss, take profit, scale into positions. All of that can be done on the platform, and you can manage your positions along the way as well. So keep an eye out for the platform. The link to the platform is in the description below. You can go live straight away, or you can go onto the demo server, the demo side of things, the test net. This is where you can request test UTC and you can trade the platform in a demo environment, so there's no risk involved, and you can just test it out if that's what you want to do. So if you're interested, the link to that platform is in the description. But a lot more updates from that position will be coming through. So keep an eye out for that. And if you're not in the Zenthrix Telegram, I did drop the link earlier in the chat as well. So check that out if you haven't done that as well. Exness, I haven't used that brokerage before, Rifat, so I have no idea, my friend. I have no idea. I haven't really looked into them either. So yeah, I can't really speak on them too much. Use the JPY OGPAC, no problem. We can take a look at that for you. About this trade, if I leave a message on your Instagram account, yeah, you can message me on Instagram. You can message me on if you join the Discord, you can message me on the Discord. But yeah, Instagram is fine as well. But of course not now because I am streaming. Yusuf, thoughts on gold 15? Okay, you want me to get into the nitty gritty of gold? Okay, I shall take a look at gold in 15, but I am not impressed. Akash, thoughts on gold? Okay, a lot of people talk about gold. What's the fascination about gold? I'm not a big fan of the price action at all. I'm not sure what you guys are seeing, but we can take a look at it nonetheless. James, appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we'll take a look at dollar yen first. So the yen pair is actually looking pretty interesting. Looks like yen itself is pretty strong again. So a lot of the yen pairs are heading down. Dollar yen's pushing down. Of course, USD's being a bit weak as well. So that has its part to play. But across the board, I'm pretty sure most of the yen pairs are pointing down, at least this morning. So yeah, dollar yen, I did speak about some buys coming into the week from this area. And this area, these are the two areas I mentioned at the start of the week where you can probably look for some nice buy opportunities. There is a slight uptrend we have here for dollar yen, a very, very slight one. Not the best trend you ever see, but there's a very slight uptrend, as you can see. So the plan has been trying to take advantage of that slight uptrend. I'm not expecting this trend to last forever. Actually, I do think at some point we're probably going to see a lower high and price is probably going to sell off a cliff. So I do have a bearish bias longer term, but that's not for today or even probably for next week. So we can leave that to one side. But I was speaking about some buys from here because I quite like the area of demand. Of course, this is the last low which gave us this high. So that is a pretty meaningful level of support. Did see a nice reaction yesterday. However, it looks like we're failing to see the continuation of that. I still think this is a smart place for a buy. So I would keep a close eye to see how we get there again and how we react. If things look good, I think the buys make a lot of sense. What I would say is watch out because, of course, there's a lot of resistance here as well. This is not a market that is trending well and seeing a lot of momentum. It's quite flat. So what that means is that resistance is going to be a little bit stronger. There'll be more selling opportunities as well, and you probably won't have as much success with the buys because the trend's not really offering much momentum for us. So what I would suggest, equally what happened here, price rallied into resistance, got stuck and came back down. I would probably have the same kind of expectation if I was to get back into another long trade. If I was to get into a buy and let's say some momentum picked up well, I'll be quite watchful over what price does at this area because essentially this is turning into a bit of a range in itself here. So you got equal lows, equal highs. Buying down here makes sense, especially if you can get some stop losses below the low. But as soon as we get back to 148, I'll be watching that trade quite closely. If we get a breakout, cool. Perhaps maybe you see a beautiful swing all the way to the next high. That could be the case with dollar yen. I think that's still very much a potential move. But equally, if we do start to find resistance here, we could very much see price come right back down again. I still like the buys here as well. So if we were to break through, I would suggest keep an eye around 145. I still think that's a nice place for a buy, but the same goes for this position. Yes, the potential swing all the way back to highs is a possibility, but I wouldn't bank on that. I would have some other targets along the way where I can book profits or manage risk. And if price starts to find resistance to go against me, I can protect my trade and protect myself against that. So dollar yen, I would just keep it short term with dollar yen. There's a lot of resistance above us, not seeing a lot of momentum. Buying low, selling high makes the most sense. It's almost a ranging market. The fact that we've got a slight uptrend makes me have that natural bullish bias here, but I'm not expecting much from it. So yeah, I'll keep a close eye on 146, 145 for some buying opportunities. But yeah, I wouldn't be trying to shoot for the moon with this opportunity. It's a very corrective market. And the reason why I do expect us to eventually put a lower high in is because of these highs previously. I kind of expect us to push up, lower high at some point, and then make a move down, kind of something like that. So I do have a bearish bias because of what we're seeing previously on the higher time frames. So yeah, that is kind of where I'm at with dollar yen for now. But yes, we can take a look at gold. I haven't looked at gold for a week now. Yeah, I don't blame you, Yusuf. I do not blame you. Gold is choppy currently. Yeah, I agree. Again, that's the beauty of trading different markets, is that you can pick and choose which markets you're going to trade and pick and choose where your next trade is going to come from. That's one of the drawbacks of trading one pair, is that you're going to have to stomach the times when things are choppy. And right now, gold is very choppy. So it depends what conditions you're after, because some people thrive in choppy conditions. You can build strategies around choppy conditions, buying low, selling high, kind of taking scalps or reactions off key levels. You can build a strategy around that 100%. It's not that choppy markets are bad. It's just, what trading strategy do you have? How do you analyze markets? If it's more kind of momentum following, trend following, looking for breakouts or somewhat, then of course gold is not going to be a forte. If you're looking at quick scalps and mean reversion and taking advantage of ranges, then maybe gold's going to give you some nice opportunities. So it really depends how you're going to approach the market. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of gold at all. But since we've got a few requests, we can take a look at it. But as I said earlier, in terms of my kind of personal opinion and personal bias with gold, I'm not really doing anything until we do approach the high or the low of the range, because again, that's where potentially there could be some opportunities. I don't mind potentially buying the low of a range or selling the high, as long as I can see some healthy rejection at the high or at the low. I mean, the pound Aussie trade I'm in right now is essentially the same idea, buying the low of the range, waiting for a strong signal that the low is holding and trying to take a continuation. If gold gives me something similar, I'd be happy to take that trade as well. But it's because price is at the low, and because I have the expectation that, okay, the low looks like it's holding, or the high looks like it's holding, now I'm expecting a push to the opposite direction. Right now, gold is in the middle. It's in the equilibrium area of the range. So this is where the most fluctuation, most indecision will happen. So if you're looking for any sustained move, you're going to run into trouble 100% here. Unless you're looking just for like a quick reaction, a quick trade. For example, price approach support here, nice reaction, one and done sort of situation. I wouldn't be looking to try and catch a big swing, back to the moon. Not that that can't happen; it could happen, but I wouldn't bank on it. That's the key thing I'm trying to get at here. So gold on the 15 looks really flat. I mean, looks like maybe a higher low could be forming, but I wouldn't bank on that. I really wouldn't look for any opportunity on the 15 at all, apart from maybe just trying to buy some lows here and look for a quick reaction. If I was looking for like a quick trade in the 15-minute chart that could last maybe an hour or two, I think, yes, you might be able to find a nice buy off here and a bit of a reaction, maybe back into resistance, and then call it a day. I think that's where the logic lies. I wouldn't look for any kind of trend following method or any kind of momentum following method, simply because there is no trend really, there is no momentum really to follow. So any kind of strategy that is built around following momentum or following trend, I think that would just perform very poorly in these conditions. But if you're trying to pick the lows or pick the highs, I think you can have a bit more success there, especially if you're looking for short-term moves. So that's the best I can see for gold. Similar reaction to what we did here, back into the low, nice reaction, nice push up higher. I think maybe something similar could happen there as well. But yeah, that's the best I can see for gold on the lower time frames. As for a swing bias, as I mentioned, I'll wait for price to approach the high or the low of the range, then look for opportunities in those areas. So that is how I would go about it. But yeah, thankfully I do trade other markets compared to gold. So, I'm very much staying away from gold for now. What's up, James? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Yeah, again, not every market's going to be kind of plain sailing. Not every market you're going to look at and get like a complete understanding of what you expect to happen next. Some markets you will look at and you won't have a Scooby, you won't have an idea of what's going to happen. And again, it doesn't really matter how much experience you have, because I've been trading for a very long time, and sometimes I look at a market and I'm like, yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen next here. And that's completely fine. You don't have to know what's going to happen next. It's just the trades that you do take, make sure you're confident with them, and you take them from good merit, from good logic. And right now with gold, I wouldn't waste my time there. Again, not saying you can't find a trade. If you do have a technique that supports kind of more choppy market conditions, especially in the low time frame, you might be able to kind of sculpt a few decent winners there. But for the way I trade, especially for a swing bias, not the time and place for it. Temo, Aussie CHF. Okay, we'll go through that. I did exit my Aussie CHF trade early. Momentum broke and we closed below support. So that was a big red flag for me. So I did end up closing that position early. I'm still looking to buy it if I can get another entry signal, but it wasn't playing ball. If I go take a look at Aussie CHF for you. So Aussie CHF, I'm still looking for a big turnaround, but the key thing I was looking for was price staying above this area, which we didn't. We did close below, and especially with a daily candle as well. So it's not like an intraday time frame. The daily wasn't playing ball. So I did have an entry back over here on the breakout. And again, the idea with entering there was that, okay, momentum should start to pick up now. And we did see signs of that happening. We did see signs of momentum picking up even a little bit later on as well until the wick formed. But we didn't sustain that and the price came back down. So I did close the trade early. I mean, it was good because I think I managed it well in terms of the risk, because of course this is where my stop loss was placed. So I closed roughly negative 0.25 R, so relatively quite small. And of course missing out that full loss. But there is a world where Aussie CHF does maybe consolidate, puts a high low in, and starts to potentially rally. Maybe this is the bottom, which I am anticipating it to be. Maybe we do form a bit of a higher low and get ready for the buy. If that's the case, I'll look for a re-entry if we can get back above this area. Maybe some stops a bit more tighter this time, below the low there. Let's say if a low does form. Then of course I'll be looking for the same move back into this area of supply, which might even get a better return on the trade. So I'm very much prepared to enter again if I see something forming. But the expectation when I hopped into the trade is that, okay, price is finally broken out of this mess. Now I'm expecting that continuation to happen. We didn't get that. We showed some signs of maybe some momentum coming, but altogether with the strong drop we had yesterday, the bullish momentum we once had is not there anymore. So I closed the trade early, and I'm very much prepared to see if I can re-enter at a later date, something that might look like this. But for now, we are retesting, and for all I know, we could see another push back into the lows, which could actually provide another better entry as well. I wouldn't mind taking the trade here, but I would be a lot more watchful of the trade, because the advantage of taking trades here on the breakout is that there's momentum there and price could continue for you. The advantage of taking trades here is they can get much tighter stop loss, but there is no momentum there, and perhaps price does go lower. So I'll be very much watchful of that trade, and even prepared to maybe call it quits as we approach the high of the range. If things look good and we get a breakout, sure, I'll remain in that, and that could turn into a very big winner. But at the same time, we might get stuck in this range again and even break lower. Let's not forget, the trend is still bearish as well. So I've got to show that trend respect. But Aussie CHF, for the most part, I am still bullish on this market. So the bias is still very much looking for a buy. But now that we're below the range, below that support level, the buys are not on at all. We could very much fall to the downside. So what I want to see is a recovery of this area and some momentum coming back into the market. And then I can hop into the trade there, or a push to the low end of this range and some rejection at the lows, and then possibly look for a buy there. So that's the two ways I'm looking at Aussie CHF now. But the first idea, momentum just wasn't sustained. JPY pairs are better. I agree. At least they're moving with a little bit more force. I mean, some yen pairs are actually a little bit choppy still, actually. But I think on average, the yen pairs are looking a little bit better. So I do agree there. BTC, yes, we can take a look at that as well. Good morning, disciplined trader. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Any swing trade? I do have a pound Aussie position open. Do you open this time? Any currency? Are you saying, do I take trades during this time? Yeah, sometimes. I mean, most of my trades are normally taken probably before 10 a.m. or in the New York session. But sometimes on the stream, I will take a position if something does brew up. But yeah, I do swing my positions. Open positions I have now is only pound Aussie, which is looking pretty decent. We've seen some nice momentum in my favor. I've managed to trail stops now underneath that low, so there's only minimal risk on the position, and we're not too far away from my main target for the trade, but I'll be seeing if I can try and push higher. Pound NZD had recently a very nice breakout, which has given me hope that potentially pound Aussie could do something similar. I mean, they're very similar markets anyway, so the fact that both of them have been consolidating, and pound NZD has made a pretty nice confident breakout on the daily chart. I would say that could be the next target there for pound NZD, and maybe pound Aussie could look to follow suit and perhaps break this consolidation out and maybe go and tackle the highs there as well. So I think there is upside possibility for pound Aussie to reach heights around here, but I definitely will lock in some gains at this area because, as we can clearly see, this is a pretty meaningful level of resistance, and price could very much turn against me there. So that will be a level which I'll probably take the bulk of the profit, but if I can leave a decent chunk to run, I'll be very happy with that. Of course, I want to see signs of that happening as well. I won't just leave it to run blindly. I'll kind of keep an eye to see what price does at that area, because perhaps we look similar to pound NZD, because pound NZD arrived at that level, saw a slight rejection, and then just had a big engulfing candle like that. If I can see something like that, I'll leave positions on. If I can see some really aggressive reactions, then I'll probably just call it quits and take everything. But I'll speak more about that when we actually are there. As for now, yes, going to see how this trade does pan out. Like I said, trail stops underneath the low there. I might look to trade it underneath the low here, but I want to give the trade room. It's in a range at the end of the day. We could possibly see a bit of a fluctuation before we do continue higher. So I don't want to be too aggressive with the trading stop loss. At the end of the day, trading stop loss is to minimize risk, but you also want to give the trade room, so there's a bit of a balance there. But yeah, the plan is to see if we can push back into resistance. Patrick, EU short term, okay, 15 or 5 minute. Yes, we can take a look at that, no problem. 10 mil pound CHF as well, okay, no problem. I will go through BT first. Have I missed out a pair? I don't think so. Yeah, we'll go through BTC first, and then I'll go through Euro and Pound Swiss. Of course, if anyone has any other requests, drop it in the chat. And of course, if you have any particular time frames as well, because of course I know there'll be people here that do trade other time frames to the time frames I'm on. So don't be shy. But in terms of Bitcoin's an interesting one. We had a very aggressive reaction yesterday after we swept the highs, which we did a pretty good job of. Price came back down pretty aggressively. That does worry me a little bit for BTC. Not that I think price is going to absolutely plummet, but it could be a sign of us maybe running out of steam in this uptrend, in this bullish cycle. And maybe it's time to give a deeper correction. Possibly. I mean, the fact that we've got a really aggressive double top here is not a good sign. Because what I've been noticing for BTC is that we've been we've seen very good examples of bull flags happening and a lot of continuation afterwards. If I zoom out, even this here was a very nice bull flag. So you can see there, lovely correction, nice flag pattern. Eventually we see another continuation. Another flag pattern comes, maybe not the most cleanest one, but I will classify that as a bit of a flag pattern. Another continuation, then we get another flag pattern, another continuation, another flag pattern, And again, we did see another continuation, but this time we fell at the highs pretty aggressively. So that's where the worry comes in. Because if you look at each other time, I mean, you could probably say we did fail at the highs here, but I wouldn't say in the same manner. This is a lot more slower. This is really aggressive. So that's the key thing I don't like. But if you look at the previous times, we've seen pretty clear momentum sweeping up highs. Not much rejection here. Here, we've not only rejected the highs, but we've done it extremely aggressively. You could even say that this bearish move is more powerful than the bullish move we saw. So that's a bit of a worry, I would say, for BTC. And I wouldn't be surprised to actually see a bit more downside for Bitcoin. I've got a feeling this might turn into a big range. So yes, we do have a bit of a flag pattern and that continuation. I've got a feeling that we might turn into a really big range here. And after that rejection of the high, I could see a situation where something like this starts to happen. And maybe we start to float, back and forth. And then we're just kind of waiting for the bigger move whenever that does come into play. Whether we do break lower or we just see price continue higher. So BTC, what I would suggest if you're on an intraday, time frame, I do quite like the sells if we can pull back to roughly around here. Again, I would still say this is a pretty aggressive trade because BTC is still very much a bullish market. But what you're banking on is that prices failed at the highs and we've seen a very aggressive move back down. So that tells me that we could probably see a continuation of that. That's simply what you're looking to trade. Nothing particularly crazy. It might take us into the low here. It might only take us into the low here. So you want to be watchful over the trade as well, because again, BTC is bullish. Perhaps we double bottom and then rally. So I wouldn't be so confident that you're looking for a home run. More so just seeing if we can pull back and achieve these lows again. But maybe we do get back here as well. So BTC, the key takeaway is that yes, the market's still bullish, but we're seeing some alarming signs at the highs, which does tell me a bit more downside is likely, and then we'll go from there. I'm not going to speak about a big retracement or a big reversal because you need a lot more rejection, a lot more information to kind of consider that. But what I can say is that I do think we're likely to see a bit more downside here. We'll see how much more downside we get. But that is not a healthy rejection. If it was like a slow correct move down, then I would just classify as another pullback and I'll expect new highs probably quickly afterwards. Not for this move. It's a big difference. It's a big change characteristically. Okay, so we'll go through Euro short term. 5-minute. Let me get rid of this, but I mean, I'll quickly run through this just from a 4-hour perspective. So basically in the 4-hour chart, I'm basically just looking for a lower high. We've got one over there, second, looking for a third one, then a push to the low. So that's simply what I'm looking for from a 4-hour perspective. So I do have a bearish swing bias, so keep that in the back of our minds for now. But in terms of like the lower time frames, I would still argue the market's pretty bullish here. Looks like, we just missed that. That would have been a nice place for a buy, but the market was a little bit, just kind of missed out on that area. The market's not perfect. We did speak about some shorts in the 15 from here, but it looks like they might have just missed out. No, it did just about tag it. Spoke about some shorts here yesterday, which actually played out pretty well there on the 15-minute. But yeah, it looks like we have rallied here. Is this another higher low in this bullish pattern? Possibly. One over there, second, third. I would expect it to be. At this point, I do think we can probably achieve a push near enough back to highs. Would I be looking to sell? No, but I do expect us to probably have a bit of a pullback at some stage before continuing higher. If you're really intraday, you might find some nice shorts from this area, but I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm not expecting a short like a continuation trade, more so in terms of, okay, it looks like we're running out of steam here, maybe a bit of a pullback for a few candles before we do continue higher. So if you're looking for some short-term opportunities, that could be a nice trade, maybe for an hour or two, and then maybe price continues to the upside later in the day or maybe on Monday. So yeah, I think some shorts could be there, but I'd wait for price action to shift because right now, I'd very much argue we're still very bullish. We are coming to a nice area of supply, which could give us some nice selling pressure. But again, I'd wait for some signs of structure starting to shift and either looking for some equal highs or a lower high to trade. That's kind of what I'll be interested in, especially on a 5-minute chart. So I can see some room to the downside for euro. I think we are quite stretched. We're looking quite fatigued. And of course, taking into consideration where we're trading, I do think we can see a bit of downside. But I'm not expecting craziness. I do think it's more of a pullback you're probably taking advantage of before we do continue higher. If I zoom back out to the 15-minute chart, this to me looks like another higher low. So I would actually favor a bit more upside. So with the shorts, take with a pinch of salt. I wouldn't get too carried away with them. So yeah, that's kind of what I'll look for on a shorter time scale for euro. A bit of downside, a bit of a pullback, but I would expect more upside. And again, like I said, longer term, I am pretty bearish, but not from here. I would wait for us to go and attack the highs again. That's where we've got a lovely area of supply. So I do fancy us getting back to resistance again. So I will be quite careful with the sells. And there could be a world where you do sell it to then buy it back up later. So let's say if we do have a reaction off that area, maybe you can pick up some longs. I'm not too sure where though. There's not really a standout like level or area of demand which I'll be happy to buy from. I mean, this one could be an area, but yeah, it's nothing I'll get too excited about. This is a bit more meaningful, so I like the sells. The buys are not really seeing a solid, impactful area. So yeah, I think the buys be a bit more difficult. But on an intraday scale, that's kind of what I'm looking at. No problem, Yusuf, UJ, GJ, and the 15. Okay. We can take a look. First, I'll go through pound CHF for Temel. So, pound CHF. So, this is actually one of the better performing CHF pairs. I've been looking for the CHF pairs to see a lot more upside because I've been expecting some weakness for Swiss. But we haven't really seen, well, we have seen a bit of weakness for Swiss, a little bit, but not as much as I've been expecting. But pound CHF has rallied pretty well, mainly because of pound strength, not so much because CHF has been weak. So this has performed pretty well after it came back to respect some support to our left. So it's actually had a pretty strong reaction. So with this, I'm not necessarily looking to buy pound CHF anymore because of where we're trading. Number one, we've already seen a pretty big up move, so I would say we're quite stretched. The market's already seen the bulk of the bullish move, so as a swing trade, I wouldn't want to be buying into the market now because we're quite overstretched and we've already seen a pretty decent move. And of course, another big reason is that we're trading into a pretty big area of supply. We consolidated here, had a pretty meaningful breakout, haven't actually come back to retest. So this is the first test of that area, which is sometimes where you see the bigger reactions. So this is just not an area which I'll be looking to buy from at all, especially as a swing trader. So if anything, there could be some shorts starting to brew up. I quite like how it's slower moving. You can see prices looking a little bit more corrective here as well. So that tells me that we're becoming a little bit more slower, a bit more fatigued, and perhaps getting ready for a bit of a top to form for a push down. Now, that might just be for price to come back and retest some of these areas. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Retest some of these areas before maybe we continue higher later on. So that could be the case. I'm not necessarily saying a massive move down in terms of we completely sell off. But what I would suggest is that if we can see this corrective behavior continue, maybe form somewhat of like a double top, I think that's a really good short opportunity. And if you're going to target like an area like this, I think that makes a lot of sense. You're not looking for anything crazy. I think that's a pretty logical target to have. And you could be looking at a decent risk reward depending on the entry, maybe like a 1 to 2, maybe a 1 to 3 if you get a very nice entry, or if you maybe scale to like an hourly chart to enter. But I'll be looking at like some double tops to form. I want to see some evidence of price failing to create new highs. That'll be a nice sign, or even better, a break of the counter trend line, a breakout of the ascending channel. That could also be a nice characteristic. But yeah, I want to see what we can do at highs. We're trading at a very aggressive area of supply, and I do think we can see a bit of downside there. So pound CHF, despite pound being strong, I quite like the sells. Hey, what's up, Jam? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Hope you are doing good. Okay, so UJ and GJ on the 15 minute. Okay, we can take a look. So dollar yen. So as I mentioned earlier, I quite like the buys. This is more from like a swing for our perspective. So I like the buys from these two areas. These are the two levels which I mentioned at the start of the week. Nice area of demand, really big reaction, of course, gave us the higher high. Equally so, lovely reaction there. Not gave us the higher low, but scenario which price might tap into, especially kind of taking out a pretty critical level of support. Maybe look to take some liquidity, tap into an area of demand, pretty common pattern, before seeing some upside. So that's why I quite like this area. But of course, at the moment, we're doing a pretty good job at respecting this level of support as we did actually yesterday. So on the 15 minute, it's more of a ranging market now. I wouldn't get too excited really with dollar yen. I spoke about some shorts, I think on Wednesday was it, or Tuesday. I think we had this bearish move here. So I said, keep an eye on some shorts, maybe back into this area. Unfortunately, didn't quite see enough of a pullback to get there, but we did see a pretty nice continuation. Now I've had a big up move, back down again. So I'm just seeing corrective behavior here. So I won't really be looking to do too much on the 15, apart from maybe looking to buy low. So if the price was to continue back to the low here, see some healthy rejection, I think that would be a smart place for a buy. Equally so, if price was to get back to resistance, I think that would be a smart place for a sell. If you can get back to the high there, trying to short the top there. So I'm not seeing much of an opportunity in terms of trend continuation or momentum following. Because of the nature of the market, we're not really seeing a sustained trend at all. So in these conditions, you want to be looking to buy low and sell high at significant areas. That would be one. That would be one as well. So I'll wait for a push into 146.229 or push back into resistance at 147.942. And those are the two areas which I'll be happy to look for opportunities. Anything in the middle here, I would disregard really, because there's no pattern at play. So yeah, dollar yen, very, very choppy market. I'd wait for a push to the low or a push to the high before looking for an opportunity. There's no real sustained trend here. I wouldn't look to follow momentum because it's all over the place. Similar condition to gold really, but at least dollar yen, we've got a slight uptrend to follow. And as for pound yen's the interesting one. We're kind of still stuck at resistance, still seeing rejection at the high. Again, as I've been saying, I kind of do favor price to eventually break out of this, but we are struggling, and we got to deal with what price is giving us, which at the moment is not a breakout. So it's interesting what we're seeing. Yen is pretty strong right now as well, so that's definitely having its say. Pound has been strong. I feel like it's weakening a little bit, or at least it wasn't as strong as it was previously, but I think it's still holding up pretty well. But we are trading at a big level here. And the plan simply for pound yen is, okay, if we can break resistance here, well, I'm expecting a pretty clear path back to the high here around 207. So the plan is wait for the breakout, look for pullbacks and buy it back up. But of course, we haven't got the breakout yet. So we're still, at least I am still patiently waiting for that. I did discuss yesterday in terms of some shorts. I said, okay, if price is going to keep respecting resistance here, keep an eye out for some shorting opportunities back at the high. We've seen another push down, so price is clearly finding it quite difficult to operate. So again, from a 4-hour perspective, I don't see much of an opportunity apart from looking to short the highs really. That's the only opportunity I see. It's a major level of resistance. You know, it's proved to hold price really well. So if we can get there again, naturally it makes sense to short. But again, I'll keep it short term. I wouldn't be looking for a big move here. You can see we've had a reaction. Got to this low, another reaction, hasn't quite got there yet, but nothing too crazy there. Yes, we could still very much sell off, but I'll be very watchful over that trade because I think longer term yen is still pretty weak. But yeah, in terms of an opportunity, especially in the 4-hour chart, shorts off the high make the most sense. It's the easier trade. You can place some pretty safe stop losses above the highs and take advantage of another reaction. I mean, the last time we were here, we did see a pretty aggressive move. As for the 15-minute chart, I would say things get a little bit more choppy here because I spoke about a pullback into this area on the 50 minutes yesterday. I said we had a lovely breakout, price created some new lows. So the plan was, can we see a pullback into this area, retest it and continue? The answer is no. Price was pretty aggressive on the way up. Didn't see much rejection to begin with, to be honest. But to be honest, the way it pulled back was not great. It was a very, very choppy period over here. and we broke out pretty aggressively of that. So that's not a good sign. You want to see price kind of correctively push up, not aggressively make a move. That's a sign that it might not be a pullback. It could be somewhat of a reversal. And it sort of was. It got us back to highs over here, but before, of course, another bearish move. So what do I expect next for pound yen? Well, I would argue we're probably starting to form a bit of a wider consolidation here. So again, I wouldn't really look to do too much in this area, apart from maybe trying to pick the lows. If price can get to support, I think there might be a nice buy there. But what once was a very consistent uptrend is now coming into a new phase. Is this phase going to be a consolidation? Is this phase going to start to be bearish? We need more information. More information is needed to see what we do at these lows. Do we bounce or break through? Because if we do break through, I'll be pretty bearish on pound yen on the 15. The plan would be looking for a lower high for some more shorts, perhaps maybe even the retest of that level. So if things are going to be pretty bearish, I would wait for the breakout and pullbacks and some shorts. If we're just going to respect the level, then it could turn into a bit of a range here. And we could be back and forth in this area. So pound yen, again, not seeing much of an opportunity, to be honest, apart from kind of just waiting to see what we do at these lows. Again, if we respect it well, yes, I think there could be some nice buys. If we break through, then I'll be waiting for more of a pullback to keep shorting that momentum. Because after all, we are respecting a pretty big level on the daily chart, and we're doing a pretty good job of that. We are doing a pretty good job of respecting that high. So that's where I'd be on the 50-minute chart for dollar yen and GJ. I'm not seeing much of an opportunity, to be honest, on both of them. Maybe UJ a little bit more in terms of the buys. Just trying to pick the lows, but I'm not seeing much momentum that is worthwhile to follow. Tamil CAD yen, okay, we can have a look at that as well. Yusuf, I was looking for buys on UJ because it looked like a V-shaped pattern. Let me have a look, see. I think I know what you mean. Okay, so you're talking about this here. So yeah, I mean, typically V-shaped patterns, you don't want to use them in ranges. You want to wait for them in trends. V-shaped pattern is a reversal pattern, and in order for it to be a reversal pattern, it needs to be reversing something, and that needs to be a trend, of course. So I wouldn't get too excited about V-shaped patterns in a range, because they can be very misleading. Because what a V-shaped pattern relies upon is momentum. A strong move down, a strong move back up. But in a range, you get momentum all over the place. You get momentum left, right, center, and that momentum doesn't really mean much. So in a trend, that momentum does mean a lot. For example, if you're seeing a trend that's gone on for a while, and then it gives you like a strong move down and a strong move back up, well, that's a clear sign to me that this trend is probably coming to an end. This is probably the low of the trend, and I can expect a continuation and an up move. And momentum will have a big say there. But in a range, we're seeing momentum kind of back and forth. So V-shaped patterns are kind of a little bit redundant. They're not very useful. Not to say they won't work, because of course everything is probability. There will be times where you use a V-shaped pattern in a trend and it doesn't work. And there will be times you use it in a range and it does work. So I'm not saying it won't work, but when I'm looking at V-shaped patterns, I'm solely focusing on trends, because it's a reversal pattern and I'm looking for a trend to reverse. And you could argue there's a somewhat slight bearish trend here, but nothing I'll get excited about really. It's a very corrective bearish move there. I can see the logic there, but I don't think it's the best use of the pattern. And again, a big part of trading itself is just quality over quantity. I would agree that does look like a V-shaped pattern. It's got the characteristic of it. But is it the best use of one? Is it the best example? I wouldn't say it is. Double tops can be very, very powerful patterns, but I wouldn't want to trade every single double top pattern or every double bottom pattern. Same thing goes for V-shaped patterns, although they are very powerful, but I don't think that's the best example of one. So I can see the logic there, but I just think in terms of the conditions, it's not ideal. If I'm going to take any buys here, simply because of the condition, I would wait for a push to the low, because I know I can get a better stop loss right at the lows of this kind of ranging market here, and we got some support to trade with on the left, and I'll be in a good position to pick up a long. Yeah, I wouldn't bank on a continuation of this momentum because of the conditions. So hopefully that made sense there. Entry's looking for a shift in momentum on the ranging level, but price broke the level. Yeah, again, I think that's because of the ranging conditions. Again, conditions are a really, really big factor, a big factor in terms of technical analysis, because if you're focusing on a pattern and it's a pattern used in trending conditions, if things are ranging, then the pattern's basically useless. You only be very, very specific with when you use a pattern. Double tops, double bottoms. For example, if a trend's aggressively trending to the upside and look to try and pick double tops, I'm gonna be burnt 100%, because price could always go a little bit higher just to take my stop loss. An aggressive trend, I don't want to be trying to call the tops on that. If it's a very loose trend, very tired trend, it looks like it's running out of energy, then I see a potentially really strong rejection at a double top. That's a different ball game. I can be a lot more confident with the double top there, because not only is the trend showing signs of being tired, we're now seeing price fail at highs as well. So that's another positive, or another confluence to say that, okay, these shorts could actually make sense despite the market being bullish. But again, if it's aggressively trending, double tops is normally an effective pattern. Just like V-shaped patterns, I wouldn't say they're very effective in ranges. More effective in calling bottoms and tops of trends. DXY, Yabsra. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Yes, we can take a look at that for you, no problem. Where are you from? Well, born and raised in the UK, but originally half Nigerian, quarter Zambian, quarter Polish. Temo, New Zealand yen. Okay, yep, I'll take a look at CAD yen first, and then we'll go through DXY and New Zealand yen as well. Namzi, it's important to consider fundamentals as well. Yeah, fundamentals can provide some nice confluence for an idea as well. I mean, it's different stories for different folks. Fundamentals can provide a nice light of information, but technicals provide you more than enough in terms of opportunities. All trading is just maximizing winners and minimizing losses, and you can do that very well with technicals alone. But of course, if you want to provide a fundamental kind of catalyst, or not catalyst, that's the wrong word, a fundamental component to your trades, that could be helpful as well, especially for like swing trades. Potentially kind of positioning long term can definitely help a trade out as well. Anyway, let's take a look at CAD yen. So CAD yen is CAD yen's looking interesting. Of course, with the yen strength, the yen pairs are a bit down in the day. I said I'm not really interested in shorts just yet with CAD yen, because we are still very much in this uptrend, even though the uptrend is very, very tiresome, and it's not like a clear-cut bullish uptrend here. It's a trend which at some point I do expect to see a pretty big move back down. If that is happening now, if prices maybe called the top here and now putting a lower high in, I do want to see a bit more momentum to the downside. Then I'll be happy to take some pullbacks, because it looks like we have broken through this counter trend line, or perhaps breaking through now on this daily candle. Of course, it still hasn't closed yet. It's still got 10 hours left, so a lot can happen in that time. But it looks like maybe we could see the breakout today. So if you could see some more momentum spill over from that, well, that's a good sign to tell me, okay, maybe the buyers are running out momentum here. It's a very tight trend anyway, and that could be the green light for me to actually look for some shorts and perhaps a bit of a trend to the downside, back to some of these lows here. So I can see some bearish opportunities starting to print here for CAD yen. I wouldn't say we're quite there yet, but possibly maybe in the next 48 hours we could be. But of course, it does kind of hinge on us seeing more downside and some strength and some momentum lower. If price starts to find its feet again and start to push up, and of course we start to actually respect this trend line, that could easily just be another higher low in this trend. And let's say this current daily candle flips bullish. I mean, the previous daily candle actually provided a pretty big wick to the downside. Let's say if today's candle does the exact same thing, closes bullish, this could very much be the characteristic of a higher low that takes us back to highs, and then so on and so forth. So yeah, it's kind of make or break with that area. I wouldn't short the market yet until I see a sustained bearish move. Then cool, I will be very bearish. If I do see another wick form today and more momentum pick up, I would say a nice actually long opportunity for CAD Yen would actually be kind of waiting for price to break out of this kind of noise. And if we can see price break to the upside here, you could either look for some longs on the breakout or wait for the retest and look for some longs there. And then you've got some pretty simple targets back to the high of the range there, because you've seen the rejection. You can be pretty confident that that will be the higher low if something like this was to happen. And then you can just look for the pullbacks. You can take the breakout if you want. That might not be optimal in terms of risk to reward. I think if you wait for a bit more of a correction, maybe scales like an hourly chart, you might find a nice refined entry. And yeah, targets back to the high there as well. And especially if you can do that for a lot of momentum, that would be a really strong signal to say that, okay, buyers are really here. Let's push back to 108.8. So it's a make or break area for CAD Yen. If we do see momentum lower, I'm pretty bearish on the pair, perhaps looking for the retest of the range and a continuation. If we do find support here by the end of the day and we can break higher, probably some point next week. I'm not expecting that to happen today. But if you can break high at some point next week, yeah, a correction and a push back to high. So I don't have a concrete bias just yet for CAD Yen. And again, a big part of trading is just being adaptive, being reactive. You don't want to be too judgmental, because there'll be many times where you focus on a bullish bias and you completely miss the opportunity to sell a market because you're only looking to buy. Which again, might not necessarily be a bad thing, but you could miss out on a lot of opportunities simply just being a bit more flexible. And that's kind of the situation I find myself in right now. So if I get a bit more information in terms of momentum, which way we're going, then I can be a bit more of use in terms of a next kind of big trade for us. But as of right now, I'm not too sure what the next move will be. I'll go through DXY next for Yabsura, and then we'll take a look at New Zealand Yen. Excuse me. Momentum can ruin a pattern, true. I mean, depends what pattern it is. But momentum can ruin, it can make a pattern as well. I would argue for a V-shaped pattern, momentum is crucial. If it's slow, I wouldn't bother trading it. So it depends what the pattern is, but yeah, momentum can make or break a pattern. No problem, Yusuf. Happy to help. Temel, glad to help. Appreciate it. If you guys are enjoying the stream, by the way, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe. It does really help out the channel, helps promote the content. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and of course hit the bell. And if you do want to support the channel further, check out the memberships. There's some perks there, members only videos, early access to videos as well, loyalty badges as well. So if you're interested to support the channel further, make sure you check out the membership options. Namzi, do you trade the same pairs or any opportunity you see? I do have a selection of pairs which I focus on. It's about 31 pairs, so all majors, minors, gold and silver, US 30. So those are the select pairs I do trade, but I probably, by the end of the year, probably will be expanding that a bit more. I'll be adding oil, probably a couple of other indices, maybe a couple of other metals as well, copper as well, platinum. Yeah, I mean, I'm very much in the idea of just the more the merrier, because I'm very particular with my trades anyway. So I do just trade the best opportunity which I can see. It might be euro dollar, it might be pound CAD, it might be silver. So I'm very much, I don't discriminate against the opportunity. So yeah, the more the better for me, really. Especially with swing trading. Of course, intraday trading, that'll be something else. But yeah, for New Zealand yen, this is looking pretty bearish. So this looks like we're seeing some momentum take control, especially with yesterday's close. I'd say that's a very nice close there, especially with the way we've pushed up and momentum kind of just, you can see by the size of daily candles, they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Then a big wick there on Wednesday, And then Thursday kind of set the tone. Looks like Friday was seeing the continuation of that. So looks like to me, probably make a move back into the low there at the very least. What I will say is that this trend was so corrective, very, very corrective. So this was a ticking time bomb, waiting for us to eventually get a bit of a sell. Same thing for kind of like Aussie dollar as well. That was super corrective on the way up. So we've pushed down. Now the key question is how far do we go down? Is this a pullback for price to potentially continue back to lows, or is this price having just a bit of a breather to continue higher? Again, no matter how much analysis I do, I probably won't be able to find the answer to that question until we actually see it happen. In terms of opportunities at the moment, again, ideally, you really want to be in the position. Of course, hindsight is a beautiful thing, but you don't really want to be entering the position now in terms of the shorts. I mean, ideally, you want to be in the trade earlier, or even here when we kind of had a bit of a break. Oh, let me do that again. We had a bit of a breakout here. Even that would have been a nice entry to get into the trade. Entering now, don't have much room to work with. It's a bit late. Might get stuck with a bit of a pullback at some point as well. So I'm not seeing much opportunity now for New Zealand yen. In terms of direction, yeah, I would expect to push to the low. And like I said, I'm not too sure if we're going to continue all the way down or just get a pullback. My initial thoughts would probably just be more of a pullback for us to see more upside, but I'll wait for more information before really buying into that. So yeah, I mean, maybe intraday, maybe a pullback into this kind of area. You might find something there, like on maybe a 30-minute time frame. But again, I wouldn't be too greedy with that. If I can get a short from here back into the low, I think that would be a nice trade to take, and you can probably leave positions to run just in case we do continue further. But yeah, I would at least wait for something of a pullback to mirror that. So an intraday opportunity, sure, I can see the idea there. From a swing perspective, you kind of really want to be in the position, but I would expect us to at least get to here, and then we'll go from there. I want to see how price reacts with the level. I want to see how we break it, if we do break it, and then that will kind of start to lead me into my next swing bias. At the moment, we're in the middle of this swing. Gonna wait for that to play out, and then I can speak about the next opportunity which could be coming through. Gilly, please do not spam the chat or I'm going to have to ban you. Just one message will do. DJ Gaming, what is up? Hope you're doing good. Welcome. We get strength in USD today is all lost to any reason. Confused a bit with that comment, I'm not going to lie. If you're talking about risk management, that's a different side of thing. Again, only risk what you're happy to lose. But I am still looking for USD strength in terms of the USD part of your question. So I am still looking for buys for the dollar. Not really quite seeing it just yet. DXY is an interesting market at the moment. We are looking quite bearish on the day. I think we opened up here. Yeah, so we are pretty bearish on the day. Yesterday we did see some nice momentum, but today is looking pretty bearish. But I am still very much bullish. As I've said, as long as price can respect this area, I am looking to buy. I'm not interested in the sells. I'm still looking for the possibility for this swing. So we're not quite there yet with the buys on the dollar. I'm looking for maybe a bit of a double bottom could form, a retest of support here, maybe some wicks forming, and then maybe we see strong candle closure off the back of that. That would be enough to convince me, okay, USD is about to see some upside now. Then hopefully that would translate to some shorts on Euro USD, and then maybe I can see a nice double top there and take some shorts. That was annoying me. And then take some shorts off the high then. Hopefully maybe see a swing there as well. So yeah, I'm still very much banking on USD strength. Not in any positions favoring that just yet. But hopefully I can get into some Euro shorts. Probably again not today because we need to get there first. Same thing for the dollar. That probably will take the most part of today to actually get into that level and start to reject it. So this could be a nice trade maybe early next week. So yeah. As for today, I'm not too sure if we see strength today. I mean, we're pretty bearish now. Yes, we might bounce to support. But yeah, in terms of day-to-day fluctuations of the market, can be difficult to predict. And what's up? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Euro pound, sure thing. We can take a look at that. Been a while. Gold we'll take a look at next. Namzi gambling addict on the prowl. You're talking about Gilly there. Potentially with the enthusiasm there. I can see that spilling over. Again, trading is not it's not a get rich quick scheme. Of course, it can be potentially, but more often than not, that does end up in losing pretty much everything. So, if you can treat it in terms of, it's the aim of the game is to stay in the game initially, and then look to try and build from there. If you can build that solid foundation of being able to stay in the game for a while, because again, most people can't do that. Most traders will, even if they do see some initial success, will eventually probably spiral out of control and lose it all. So if you can stay in the game, which just basically means that some of your wins, some of your losses are fairly equal. If you can keep that fairly consistent, then you can start to build from there, review your trades, what you're doing well, what you're not doing so well, start to build from there. Eventually you can start to get that equity curve to point to the upsides. But the skill is the risk management. That will keep you in the game, really. So, again, you don't want to have that excitement too much in trading because that will probably be your downfall. Of course, if you're new to trading, it's difficult to get away from that initially. I think my biggest tip is just don't trade with money you can't afford to lose, really. That's the biggest thing, really. But yeah, the aim of the game initially is to stay in the game, really. But yeah, we'll take a look at which pair was it? Euro pound, gold. We'll go through next. That's kind of my take on the DXY. Looking for a double bottom here for a buy. We're trading a nice area of demand. So the plan is, what can we do at this level of support, and hopefully take some buys off the back of that. That's really the plan there. Swiss yen we can take a look at. Dollar CHF we can take a look at. Temel. I need euro versus US signal. We can take a look at Euro USD as well. Let me go through Euro Pound first. So Euro Pound, not my favorite pair, I must admit, but we've seen some nice momentum here and there. I mean, price is doing a pretty good job at respecting resistance, I must say. A bit of a double top kind of action going on. Looks like price is breaking the lows here pretty well too. So what I would suggest with Euro Pound is a clear sign to us that that the highs are holding, and possibly this could be a new top for this bullish trend. So I do expect a bit of a bearish trend to form. Now, where would I look to short this? I don't really have a clear-cut place to do that, to be honest. So I would wait for potentially a break of that support level, and that could hopefully provide a nice opportunity for a short, because that's probably the next meaningful level that Euro Pound has available right now. Because if we were to see some upside, where would I place a short? Maybe off this low here, but I wouldn't get too excited, to be honest. This is a bit more of a meaningful level. So ideally, I would want to see a bit more downside for Euro Pound. I like the way that we've rejected the highs there, so I do think we can turn around. I mean, Euro Pound is a very choppy pair after all. Looks like potentially we could be looking to struggle, and there is a lot of room to the downside. So I like the shorts for Euro Pound, but I would want more established trend to be present before I try and pick some highs or pick some shorts, really. So yeah, something like this could look good to retest of support. That could be a nice area to back a trade against, put a stop loss above, and hopefully catch the continuation. So Euro Pound, I would be bearish, but I think a break of that support would be pretty significant, and that could really help the bias out. In terms of gold, so gold, I'm not seeing much of an opportunity, to be honest. A lot of people talked about gold, but I'm not seeing much of an opportunity here, especially where we're trading at the moment. This is kind of slap bang in the middle of a range, which is where the most indecision will be, the most fluctuation will happen, the most chaos will happen. So unless you're on the lower time frames looking for quick scalps, quick reactionary trades, buying off the lows, selling off the highs, unless you're looking for quick kind of moves like that, I would stay away from gold for now. From a swing bias, I think shorting the highs and buying the lows could be a really nice trade. I mean, if you can see some healthy rejection at the support or at the resistance, simply just basically banking on price continuing what it's been doing is a fairly decent bet. So if price can get back to the lows around 32.60 or the highs around 32.40, 32.30, and see some nice rejection there, I think that's a smart place for a sell and for a buy. As where we are right now, like I said, in the middle of nowhere, I would stay away. Unless maybe you're like on a 5 or 50-minute chart, just trying to quickly scalp some pips off the low or off a support level, you might find some luck there. But any type of meaningful swing, it's very hectic, very, very hectic. And I wouldn't try and follow momentum. I wouldn't try any trend following techniques in these conditions, because simply there is no trend right now. So gold, unless you're kind of trying to sculpt a few pips here and there, I would stay away from it, especially where we're trading. Swiss yen, dollar CHF, Euro USD, we can take a look. Hey, Tony Gill, my man, what is up? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Any pairs you're looking at? Feel free to share. Swiss yen, let's take a look. See, so another yen pair, which hasn't been too weak actually. We've seen a lot of downside today for the yen pairs, but Swiss yen not quite the case. I think CHF might be a little bit weak as well. But in all honesty, we just got a bit of a consolidation here. Now, on the higher time frames for Swiss yen, I do expect much more of a pullback. This is actually fresh all-time highs for Swiss yen, so the market is very, very overextended. It's at all-time highs. The need for a pullback is great, because if you think to yourself, people who've been buying Swiss yen, of course they've been loving life, but if I put myself into potentially a bigger play in Swiss yen, I probably would have other reasons for buying it. But if price does get to new all-time highs, I'll probably be taking a good chunk of my profits off the table. I might still hold positions because maybe I still forecast more upside for whatever reason. But in terms of the charts, which is going to play a big role, the fact that we're at fresh highs always means the possibility for a pullback is quite great. So I do expect a lot of profit taking, which should mean more downside for Swiss yen. I'm not necessarily saying a reversal, but I do think we can see a bit more downside, perhaps to retest the high here, or maybe retest some of these areas, and then maybe we do continue later on. So I am banking a lot more downside for Swiss yen purely on that reason, really. But I wouldn't suggest shorting now. I would suggest if you can see another convincing break to the downside, that could be the catalyst to actually get us to short the market, either on the breakout or waiting for a retest, and hopefully catch the next lower high in the sequence. We had a lovely consolidation up there, which we broke out twice. On the second breakout was for real. Now we're back in another consolidation. Things are a little bit choppy. If we can see another convincing break of that, I would suggest the pullback and a retest should be a smart trade. Likewise, if we do eventually break to the upside here, maybe we do see a bit more upside, and maybe price does go and attack the highs again. So I think that could be a smart trade as well. After all, we are on an uptrend, so if we do start to see bullish momentum creep back into the market, there's a good chance it does take us back to highs. It doesn't change the fact that I still do expect us to eventually have a pretty big pullback when the time's right. But if I do see a convincing break to the highs, that would be a pretty strong bullish sign in my book as well. So waiting for price to really make a decision right now. I feel like a lot of the yen pairs are in a similar situation. I would suggest that dollar yen is in a bit of a range at the moment as well. I would suggest that this is pretty range around price action. Off the top of my head, I could probably suggest that pound yen's a bit range bound as well. For the most part, this is pretty flat price action there as well. I think euro yen's a pretty range bound at the moment. Very flat here. I can suggest CAD yen's pretty range bound as well. We highlighted that range earlier as well. So a lot of these yen pairs are quite flat right now, and that's kind of the situation I'm in for the yen pairs. Don't really have a concrete bias until I see some commanding momentum breaking us high or breaking us lower. And that same logic applies for Swiss yen. Depending which way we kind of choose, which way you pick our direction, then I think there could be some very nice trend following opportunities, whether you're looking for breakout opportunities or whether you're looking for retests. And then we'll go from there. But as of yet, I can see price doing both things, so I wouldn't force anything. Okay, so dollar CHF we'll look at next, and then we'll go for euro dollar as well. All right, take care, Yusuf. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good weekend. Appreciate it. Blessing, euro yen. We can take a look at that one as well, no problem. Dollar CHF we'll go through next. So dollar Swiss, another USD pair. Again, I'm still looking for buying opportunities for this one. Again, across the board, I'm still looking for strength on the dollar. So all these USD pairs, that's still very much my main aim, my play, to see if I can buy the USD against the opposing currency. Dollar CHF, I must say, is a bit flat, so I am a little bit kind of neutral now with dollar CHF. I mean, my bias is still this, but I'm not seeing much of an opportunity to take advantage of that just yet. So with dollar CHF, I'm keeping a close eye on it. Truthfully, the main thing I'm keeping a close eye on is the dollar, because as soon as I start to see some strength here, some meaningful strength, and maybe a break of this counter trend line or a strong double bottom, once I see that on the DXY, then that would be my green light to actually go and trade the other USD majors. Because because at the moment the dollar doesn't look quite ready to be bought yet, in my opinion. So if I'm going to go buy the dollar against another currency, like against CHF, I'm kind of buying a little bit early. I'm kind of banking that the DXY will see some upside, which the DXY can do whatever it wants really. So until I see some commanding price action on the dollar, I will be a little bit cautious with any USD pair for now, dollar CHF included. So what I see right now is a market that's pretty flat. Yes, I like kind of where we're trading because there's some support to our left, which I can mark it on with this wick, which looks like price is doing a pretty good job at respecting. So you got support over there. You could argue support there as well. Resistance really well over there, and it looks like support there again. So it's a pretty significant area which price is trading and holding against, and possibly we could see another higher low form here, and that perhaps could take us to the upside. We also had a pretty nice break of this descending trend line there. That could be the characteristic of a market that's getting ready to see maybe a reversal, maybe just a bigger pullback. So there is definitely upside in the cards here for dollar CHF, but difficult to kind of take advantage of that just yet. I mean, what you could look at for dollar CHF is, okay, we are expecting support. Clearly, price is respecting these levels. What you could wait for is, especially on the low time frames, is wait for another push back into the low, wait for some wicks, wait for some rejection, as shown previously, and just look for a quick buy here. I would say you got 50% of the range in and around here. Actually, let's just get the fib so it can be a bit more precise. Oh, almost bang on the money there. So yeah, you've got the 50% of the range. What you could look to do is take some buys off the low here. Let's say price gets there again, take some buys off the low, close some partials at that area there, maybe move a stop loss to break even, and leave the rest to see if we can get back to the highs. And then we'll go from there. Perhaps we see a breakout, or perhaps price comes straight back down. But we are kind of just ranging right now for dollar CHF. So I wouldn't be looking for a big swing like I once was coming into the week, because we are quite flat now. DXY doesn't quite look to be ready yet. But if you're looking for a shorter term move, I think you can take advantage of that, especially if we can do another good job at respecting the lows like we did here, like we did there. And of course, taking into account we are trading at a pretty significant price. So short-term buys, I think they're on. Long-term buys, I'm not quite convinced yet. As I said, I'll wait for DXY to really get the ball rolling. We'll take a look at Euro USD next, and then we'll go through Euro Yen for blessing. Hopefully, Namzia, I would say we're looking a little bit on the stale side of things. Yeah, there's a bit of momentum here and there, but again, the way I see news is always a catalyst to get the ball rolling, especially news releases when they do come out. Of course, longer term, they'll have bigger impacts to play than just making the market move, but especially when news is initially released, especially as a technical trader, it gets the market moving, so hopefully. But yeah, Euro USD. So this is probably my preferred USD pair. This is the pair I'm going to be focusing a lot next week, because of course today's already Friday, so this week is pretty much over. But as for next week, Euro dollar is probably the top of the list for me in terms of opportunities. As you can see by the arrow, I'm pretty bearish on this pair. And if things go very well, there's a good likelihood we could be ending up back at these lows. Probably not by the end of next week, of course. That would be a very aggressive move if we were to do that in 1 week. But maybe in the next 1 or 2 weeks. But the plan for euro simply is, can we find another lower high? We've got one over here, we've got a second over there. Can we simply go for a third? And can we make a push back into the lows? Also, I want to keep an eye out on this low here as well. Pretty significant level of support there. Of course, gave us the last pullback. That could very much be an area which maybe price starts to struggle with and maybe sees a lot of upside from. So I do want to make sure I can manage my risk from that regard as well. But I quite like what I'm seeing for euro because of how corrective we are on the way up. We start off very impulsive off the back of NFP here, so I wasn't really liking that because it was a bit too aggressive. But we did start to slow down, which is what I like because that's a key characteristic of a pullback for me. If we're slow, corrective, see frequent pullbacks, that's a sign that the market is struggling to a degree and probably is going to put a lower high in to continue lower. So I quite like how we're moving. So in terms of an opportunity, I'm looking for either price maybe has a break of the counter trend line or retests the high and gives me a double top. Either of those kind of entry formations would be something I'll be happy to take. At the moment, we're looking a tad bullish now. Of course, DXY is kind of helping facilitate that. So if we can make our move back into resistance, start to reject this well, see some meaningful momentum, I will be quite happy with a short. So yeah, Euro USD, pretty short bias. There's somewhat of a trend line here. I'm not going to give that trend line too much respect, but connecting the dots here does line up pretty well. Altogether, really coming to a nice area of supply here. A lot of consolidation, really aggressive bearish move. So it's a very impactful level of supply. So I do quite like the shorts at this particular location. And yeah, target 1, 1.157, target 2, 1.14. So that's the plan. And of course, to invalidate that would mean price to break above that. If that was to happen, then of course I would walk away from the shorts. Okay, where was I? Euro yen for blessing. We can take a look at next. Dollar CAD Kings. We can take a look as well. I do agree. I like the buys down dollar CAD as well. Euro dollar is probably my preferred USD pair, but I would probably say dollar CAD might be second. It's just the risk reward's a bit skewed there for dollar CAD, which is my main issue with the pair. But we can go through that shortly. Teshepo, welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Good day to you, fellow traders. Long time no chat. Yeah, good to have you back on the stream. Hope you're doing good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. High strategy are you using? Not too sure what that means. Unless you're talking about the time frames. I mean, I mainly use the 4-hour time frame for most of my my analysis, really, in combination with the daily chart. And again, in terms of entries, use the 4-hour chart as well. So mostly around daily and the 4-hour in terms of the time frames I'm using, but I will occasionally look at the weekly, monthly if I do need a bit more clarity. But those are the main time frames I'm looking at. So Euro Yen's an interesting one. I'm pretty bullish on Euro Yen. I do think more upside is likely for this one. The way I see Euro Yen, especially in the higher time frames, is I do think we can see some new highs past this point. We had a lovely breakout of this kind of 6-month range here. Really commanding move. I mean, there is a world where Euro Yen does have a pretty big pullback, maybe even to retest this before continuation. There's that possibility. So if price does bleed here, I still do expect us to get there, but maybe we're going to have a bigger pullback. So I can see that happening. Yeah, especially with the momentum we saw the first half of the week, I thought we were going to see Euro Yen continue back to highs and so on and so forth. We did manage to break through resistance here, but it was quite corrective, I must admit. So that was one kind of red flag. Then especially when the momentum kicked in, that was not a good sign either. So at this point, it looks like price had a bit of a failed breakout past the high, which could lead us to another sell-off back into these lows. So as I said, I'm still pretty bullish on Euro Yen, so this could be a smart place for a buy back up. If we do go and break through that, then maybe somewhat of a bearish trend could form for us to get that bigger retest on the higher time frames. But again, I'm speaking a bit too far in the future there. What I do like at the moment is how price is now respecting this as resistance again. So I quite like the idea of shorting here to then trade it back into the low, then hopefully maybe some buys back up again. Because essentially Euro Yen is in a bit of a range here. But the idea is that the overall uptrend is still in play. We're still expecting that to continue. If we do drop lower, the buys are still very much on. So I'm going to keep a close eye to see how we react at support. But this was a pretty nice fake out, really commanding break back in. If this can hold the resistance, that'd be a nice place to put a stop loss above. And then, yeah, see if we can push it back into lows, and then we'll go from there. But Euro Yen, I do have somewhat of a kind of a short-term bearish bias, but long-term, I'm still very much bullish, still looking for a push to 175. So that is how I see Euro Yen at the moment. Dollar CAD's an interesting one. I'm still pretty bullish on Dollar CAD. I was actually debating some entries in on Dollar CAD as well. But I decided to refrain because the entry didn't look too good. I was actually looking at potentially an entry on the daily candle, because I really did like this daily candle here. Let me just move my squiggly lines out of the way. The reason why I liked it is because this is a pretty significant level of support and resistance in the past. And it looks to me that price has simply had a breakout of this, come back to retest it, and is now starting to see some really, really significant momentum to the upside, which I think has got a good chance to take us back into resistance. So I quite like what I'm seeing with Dollar CAD. I do think our next move is likely to the upside. Of course, the DXY is going to have a big part to play in that. But just looking at the price action of Dollar CAD alone, I would say things are looking pretty bullish here. Looks like we went through a pretty big consolidation over here, and this is our kind of breakout and retest. So I like what I'm seeing, but again, my only kind of question mark or my own worry with Dollar CAD is just risk to reward. You know, if I was taking an entry there on the daily candle, I could probably have my stop loss underneath the low, but I've got resistance right in front of me, and I'm about looking at like a 0.5R here if it does play out, which again, I expect it to do so, but I wouldn't want to risk 1R to gain 0.5. You know, it has to at least be a 1-to-1 at bare minimum. If I'm going to risk 1R, I need to at least make that back, preferably more. But yeah, so the risk reward was my main issue with Dollar CAD. Although I do like the opportunity, just the risk management wasn't quite adding up for me, which is another reason why I do like Euro USD. Even if I was to enter this on the daily chart, which I probably won't, most likely I'll enter in the 4-hour chart. Even if I was to enter like something like this with stop above the highs, probably still looking at least a 1-to-2, at very least, more likely a 1-to-3. So I like what I'm seeing with Euro a lot more than Dollar CAD, but it's the same idea really, banking on dollar being strong. I'm seeing convincing behavior on the daily candle here, so I do think we can see some more upside. Of course, we're looking bearish on the day, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. As I said earlier for Dollar CAD, I would still be bullish as long as price stays above this low. As long as we don't go and suddenly break through that, then yeah, I would lose that bullish bias pretty quickly. But I can see a world where we push down, maybe find some support again, and then potentially rally off the back of that. Maybe form another higher low here. I can see that happening. So yeah, I quite like what I'm seeing with Dollar CAD. Pretty bullish on this one. I think if you can drop to a lower time frame and try and pick some lows here, maybe like an hourly chart, you might be able to actually take advantage of a decent risk reward here. Actually, the buys there didn't make too much sense with resistance just above us, but if you can find an entry that looks something like this, you know, maybe you can turn that into actually a decent risk reward, maybe a 1-to-2. So yeah, Dollar CAD I quite like what I'm seeing as well. It's another USD pair, so naturally I do have that bullish bias, and since we're above a pretty key level, as long as we can stay above it, yeah, I do have Dollar CAD pushing higher. So yeah, hopefully that made some sense. Euro dollar, we just had a look at Euro USD. Gold, I don't know why everyone keeps recommending gold. Gold is just, I'm not seeing much opportunity on gold, to be honest. The pair, just looking at it, almost gives me a headache. Again, it's just a market that is ranging, and at least for me, as a bit more of a swing trader, of course, I can't speak for everyone because I would imagine there's a bunch of day traders here, maybe some scalpers as well. So you guys probably be a bit more focused on like the 15-minute chart, not so much the 4-hour. But if you're looking at swing opportunities, a big part of swing trading is positioning yourself well in the market. Because, if you position yourself awkwardly, then you're not really going to be able to take advantage of swings well. And in the range, there's only two places really to position yourself. That's at the low of the range or at the high. There's only two places. Anywhere in the middle, you're going to ask for trouble. If you're going to get in the middle, then you want to keep it short term. You're not looking for a swing trade. You're more so looking just to quickly take advantage of a quick buy for level of support or a quick sell of a level of resistance. That's really what you're banking on. So if I was to drop to like the 50-minute chart, as I did say earlier in the stream, if you're looking for a quick trade here and there, maybe a push off the low could make sense. So something like this, let's say we react well, start to see some rejection, some wicks. Okay, yeah, sure, maybe a buy there could make sense. Similar to what we did here, last time we were at support, we came back there, a bit of a reaction. We did see a bit of an up move that, but that's all I'll be looking to bank on for gold. Not even a push back to the highs here. I mean, we could do. I'm not saying we won't, but again, you want to be in and out. That's the best way to take advantage of such choppy, indecisive price action. Trading is pretty challenging as it is. You don't want to make it any harder on yourself. So if you are going to take these type of opportunities, being in and out, quickly paying yourself, I think is the best way to take. You can always leave a position to run. Things are looking good, sure, but the bulk of your positions you probably want to take off pretty quickly. Maybe at back at the highs here. If price bounces well, call it a day. That could still be a decent return on a position. But intraday is a lot of fluctuation. I wouldn't be looking at any kind of trend following strategies, any momentum following strategies. That's just not going to perform well in these areas. Again, the whole idea of a trend following strategy is that there's a trend or momentum following strategy, that there is momentum. There's none of that really here, especially intraday with gold. So those strategies won't perform well. So if you got a bit more of like a range bound or a mean reversion strategy, then yeah, you can probably perform pretty well in these conditions, to be honest, because this is something a bit more optimal. But as for a swing trader, there's only two areas I'm looking at. That's the high and that's the low. Anything in here is probably not worth my time. So that's kind of how I see gold right now. Again, I'm focusing really on momentum and buying low and selling high. And again, I'm not saying ranges are not great. I mean, the trade I'm in right now is essentially trading a ranging market, really. So it's not that I don't trade ranging markets, but if I'm going to look to take a trade, it's got to be at the low or at the high of the range. Essentially, with this trade here, price was at the low, had a bunch of rejection there. Finally saw a really healthy breakout. That was the catalyst to get me into the trade, and I'm simply just looking to buy it back to the high. I'm not looking to do anything too crazy. Hopefully we can get there. Same thing with gold. If gold was to get back to the low of the range here, wrong one. If gold was to get back to the low of the range and see some healthy rejections similar to what we saw in pound Aussie, then yeah, I'll take a buy there, because I quite like the risk to reward from here to there. I can probably walk away for a decent return there. And likewise with the breakout, I think there could be some really nice opportunities, especially to the upside. If we can see a confident break, some pullbacks and buys, I think there could be a pretty big move there for gold as well, especially with how long this consolidation has been going on for. As we know, sometimes the longer the consolidation, the bigger the breakout or the bigger the move. So yeah, that's where a lot of my focus will be for gold. Just right at the highs and at the lows. Anywhere else, not too interested. All right, take care, D-Mart. Have a good one, my man. Hopefully we'll see you next week. And have a good weekend. I will be posting analysis on the weekend, as always, guys. So do stay tuned for that. That'll be around Saturday evening, UK time. So that would just be wrapping up this week in terms of the price action, going over my trades for the week and anything I'm kind of looking at for next week. But the big kind of pair I'm looking at for next week is definitely Euro USD. That's where my focus will be. I will still be keeping an eye on Aussie CHF because I did close that position early. I wasn't a long here, but I did close the trade here for minus around 0.25 R. So pretty small loss, but I think I managed to trade well. Of course, we'll see in hindsight if that's the case or not. But I am looking for re-entries for this idea because I'm still very much with the swing bias that we are getting ready for a pretty big move up high, back to these highs and even further. It's just the idea of the trade was I jumped into the position expecting momentum to really pick up. We did see signs of that happening initially, but that was quickly kind of nullified and price starts to break lower. And that's the key thing I didn't want to see price break below, was this support level. So once that did happen, it closed the trade early, but nothing's changed in terms of the characteristics, in terms of me not expecting that bullish move. We haven't broken through major structure. I'm looking at this being a bottom. So well and truly, until that support goes, I still do expect us to push higher. Even if we do come back to test it, I still do expect us to push higher. So I'm very bullish on Aussie CHF still. But yeah, I'm looking to see if I can find a re-entry. Maybe if we do recover back above this area, I might find a re-entry, something similar, which might actually give me a better risk reward actually. So it might actually be for the best that I close the trade early. But Aussie CHF is still on the watch list, but I would say even Euro looks better, to be honest. So I mean, it won't be a situation where I pick one of the two, because they're not really that correlated. Euro USD is not really correlated with Aussie CHF, so I don't mind taking them both at the same time. But apart from Aussie CHF re-entry, Euro USD entry will be the focus probably for the first bit of next week. I do like this out of the other USD pairs, but of course this will hinge on DXY looking good as well, which at the moment isn't quite the case, but things can change pretty quickly. Yes, we're looking bearish now, that could change by the end of the day potentially, or maybe the first half of next week. So going to be keeping a close eye on the DXY. Yen pairs, I feel like there could be some nice opportunities there, particularly if we can see the breakout of the respective ranges I've been talking about. I feel like Swiss yen's got a lot of room to the downside. A convincing breakout there could present a nice pullback, possibly the retest of the high here. I wouldn't mind a breakout and some shorts into that area, or even a breakout and some buys back to the high. I think that could be a nice little opportunity to take advantage of, especially on a retest. I quite like what CAD yen's got going on. It's a very similar trade to Swiss yen as well. The consolidation here, kind of waiting for the breakout. Do we break higher? Well, if that's the case, looking for a push back into the high, maybe a quick retest could be a nice trade. Or do we break lower? Well, that could mean the reversal is very much on the cards. Looking for a pullback of that for some more downside. So I quite like what's going on with some of the yen pairs, CAD yen, Swiss yen in particular. Pound yen to a degree, but really the key thing I'm after. Ooh, can't seem to type here. The key thing I'm really after with pound yen is the break to the upside. So that's really what I want to see happen, because then I'll be looking to buy it back to 207. And yeah, I think that's about it. Aussie yen, potential buys later on maybe. I like this area here. Perhaps there might be some buying opportunities as we come into there for another higher low. Something like that could come into play. So maybe Aussie yen, but again, I'll finalize everything over the weekend, because again, we need to see how today's candles close and the weekly candles close as well, which will play a big role into things. And that's why I like doing analysis on the weekend. One of the positives of trading slightly in the higher time frames, like the 4-hour chart, is that everything slows down a little bit. Analysis doesn't have to be during the live markets. A lot of the analysis you see me doing now is kind of just updates, just as we get new candlesticks, and kind of just tweaking analysis that I did last weekend. The bulk of my analysis happens over the weekend. I go through all my pairs on the weekend, and then the weekdays very much just keeping up to date with everything as price develops. Because on the 4-hour candle, you get 6 candles per day. And over the course of the week, that's 30 candles per week. So there's not going to be a lot of difference. There will be difference, yes, particularly if there's a big news event on a particular pair. But 30 candles is not crazy amount. So you can analyze on the weekend, tweak as you go along through the week, and then just focus on the weekend. And the beauty of analyzing the weekend as well is that the markets are closed. So there's no emotion involved. You might have had a bad week the previous week, but that goes out the window when you're analyzing now. You're just focusing on the price action for the new week. And then when the week starts, all your analysis is done. You're kind of just keeping up to date with everything. Like for example, Euro USD, this analysis was done over the weekend. This is nothing new, nothing that I kind of just spontaneously came up with today. This is something I was talking on my last weekly analysis video. So it's just basically keeping up to date with the price action, keeping an eye on it. If things set up great, I'll take the trade. If not, then of course we'll continue to monitor until proven otherwise, really, which is one of the benefits of the higher time frames. But there's pros and cons to everything, really. It's just one of the perks that I like about the 4-hour chart is that it's a bit slower. Hourly chart and below is a bit more faster, so you can probably do analysis on the morning of, which again, there's nothing wrong with. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just a slight benefit that on the weekend the markets are closed, so you can kind of put those emotions to one side a bit better. But pound Aussie is the only position I'm in at the moment. Like I said, I did close Aussie CHF early, so that's out of the picture, but I am looking for re-entries. So I might find an opportunity to get back in it there. But pound Aussie is well underway. Again, simply just looking for a push to resistance there. Nothing too complicated with this one. This is where my stop loss is trailed to, by the way. It's not here anymore. Stop loss is trailed there. Just to minimize risk, because we've already seen convincing momentum in my favor, so there's no point to keep the stop loss here. You know, if price is already up here about 3/4, you know, into the journey, there's no need to hold the trade all the way to potential losing trader all the way back here. You know, if price decides it wants to reverse and does something like this, especially after catching that initial move, there's no need to take that loss there. So in terms of trade management, I have trail stops here to protect the downside, but most importantly, just to kind of keep up with price. As we continue higher, I want to be kind of managing my risk along the way. Maybe if I see another convincing move here, breaking out this consolidation, I might even move the stop loss to trail underneath there, especially if you're going to smash into highs. But for now, here is fine. So the worst case scenario, if things don't go to plan from here, I'll take a very slight loss, probably like a maybe 0.1 of my initial risk, around there anywhere. So yeah, very reduced risk on the position, in a bit of profit. Hopefully you can get pushed back to the highs at this point. And that's the only position I'm in. And hopefully Euro USD can join the party as well. And I manage that in a similar way as well. But I'm being very active with the management on my trades, kind of staying up to date with the price action, not kind of being so laid back with it, which does mean a little bit more work in that regard, but nothing crazy. And especially if you keep an eye on your trades anyway, it's not much more to deal with. But yeah, going into next week, Euro USD will be my take and will be my focus. I probably will have maybe a few other pairs I'm looking at, but most weeks I will have like 1 or 2 pairs which I'm really liking. Then probably have maybe another 2 or 3 which look okay, which might get better as the week progresses, and they could look even better than the ones I'm banking on. So I'll keep an eye on some other pairs, which is why I make sure to stay tuned for that weekly analysis on the weekend, because I'll go through a bunch of markets there and share some of the pairs which I'm really interested in. But for now, Euro is definitely the top of the bunch. But guys, we have come up to the end of the stream. I really do appreciate each and every one of you tuning into the stream. It does really help to make the stream what it is. Of course, without you guys, there really will be no stream. So I really do appreciate you tuning in and chatting with myself. If you have enjoyed the stream, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe. That does really help the channel out, so I do really appreciate that. Share it with your friends as well. Hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Join the memberships if you do want to support the channel further. You get some pretty beneficial perks there, getting early access to videos, only members videos as well as some other perks. So if you're interested to support the channel, check it out as well. But guys, really do appreciate you tuning in. Like I said, we'll be live again next week, same time as always, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time, Monday to Friday. So if you are liking the streams, hopefully I will catch you guys next week. But look out for the video on the weekend. That will be Saturday afternoon-ish. But appreciate it, guys. Have a good one. Great weekend, and I'll see you all in the new week.
Introducing Zentrix AI-powered trading signals service. Tired of second-guessing your trades? Zentrix AI scans the markets 24/7 with powerful, proven indicators built to give you clarity. You get 200+ signals every day on 15-minute, 1-hour, 4-hour, and daily charts. We cover Forex, crypto, commodities, indices, and stocks, so you're covered no matter what you trade. And the best part, you get all this delivered 3 ways, every day. Web alerts give you fast, clean access right from your dashboard. Telegram delivers real-time entries, confidence levels, sentiment, and trade duration. And email gives you the full breakdown, including 2 profit target levels and deep market analysis. Just hold $5 worth of ZTR. See what you can achieve with powerful AI trading intelligence by Zentrix. Try it now. And join our Telegram channel.